If you happen to be using the Oxford Companion to Music as one of your sources, you are going to have to take an extra step to determine the name of the author or the authors of the article on your topic in it. And I have copied here an example of what you would expect to find at the end of the article, and that is the initials of the author or the authors. Here, the example is WT/JBE, and that is two authors. It has a slash in between the two of them. You might run into a situation that has three authors specified. More likely, though, you will have just one author specified. But in any case, you will have to copy down those initials, and then you will have to take an extra step. You will have to match them with the name or the names of the authors that you find in the list of contributors that is located near the beginning of the volume. After you write down the initials, flip back to the beginning of the volume, look for the list of contributors, and identify those authors in the list of contributors and write them down onto the form. If you see an author's name that has only an initial for the first name, or if you see the name of someone written out in full, you do not have the name of the author correct. If you see those things at the end of an article, okay, those usually refer to something else. They refer to bibliography or something like that. Ignore those. You need to find these initials, and you need to look them up in the list of contributors. That way there you can be certain that you have the correct author or authors for your particular article. Now you will indicate them on the form just as you did for the other sources. Surname of the first author, name of the first author. If there's a second one, first name first, surname second. If there are more than two authors to it, you would cross out the and simply put et al. In these blanks. Title of the article, again, keep it free of numbers or dates. If it is a name given in indexing order, like Bach, Johann Sebastian, put it in normal order, Johann Sebastian Bach. If it says Mozart, Wolfgang Amadeus, make sure that you put it in normal order, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. First names and then last names in titles like that there. And again, people, make sure no numbers and no dates in the titles of articles. If you're putting them in, you're doing something wrong. Next thing, make sure you put in the date of it. You'll find the date of publication given to you on the back of the title page. Make sure that you choose the most recent year of publication. And finally, indicate the first and the last page numbers observing this convention that you see here. If you have two 3-digit dates and both of them begin with the same digit, simply delete the first digit of the second number. By the way, the page numbers in this source are indicated in a rather strange place on the page. We expect to find them in the upper outer corners of the pages when we open up a book, but you will find them in another place on the page in that particular volume. Look for them. Do not tell me that there are no numbers, because there really are page numbers for them. And finally, you will need to select a focus for your MRP. And if I were you, I would plan to spend some time in the library doing it. I would schedule, let's say, an hour and a half for the library visit, so that I could sit down and take care of all of these things in the library, probably the quietest place that is available to any of you, to take care of all of the details of this assignment. In fact, your MRP, your topic that you have chosen, is incredibly broad. Even if it is a single composer or a single instrument, it is very likely exceedingly broad. Far too broad for you to examine in any great depth. So we have to find some way to narrow it down and to narrow your focus for it. So for the first step, you need to read your shortest source, that is the one that has the fewest number of pages from beginning to end. Chances are that'll be the New Oxford article or the New Oxford Companion or the Oxford Companion article, whichever one you're using there. Chances are that is the one. It'll be only a few pages that you have to read. The sort of thing that you could do during your visit to the library. Once you've written down all the information for each of your 3 sources, simply find an extremely quiet place in the library. There are always quiet places in libraries, to sit down and to read that article through from beginning to end. And as you read it, look for things that interest you. Okay? Whenever you read about something, certain things stand out or certain things catch your attention. Those are the things that you should focus on. Things that interest you are going to work best for you. Don't pick something that you think is going to impress me, because that will be a waste of time. What will impress me is that if you focus on something that you like, and I see your work on it, and I see that you are doing good work on it, that will impress me. So pick the things that interest you. That will always work out best for you. And once you've done that, I ask you to indicate those things in the form that I have provided below for you. And when you indicate it in the form, do not use more than 3 words to define a subtopic. Do not write a full sentence on any subtopic. As a matter of fact, only 1 word is necessary, but do not use more than 3 words to define a subtopic. Again, do not use more than 3 words to define a subtopic. Again, do not use more than 3 words to define a subtopic. Do not write a sentence on the subtopic. Do not use more than 3 words to define a subtopic. Indeed, let's get back to my example. Let's say I'm doing my MRP on the caccia, that 14th century musical genre. And one of my interests, of course, as you probably already know from looking at my podcast, is that I have a certain interest in etymology. Okay, so I might have a look at the etymology of the word. You may not use etymology as a focus in your assignments. Again, you may not use, actually, you cannot use etymology as one of your focuses. But let's say that I was going to use it for my particular assignment. What I've written there is way, way, way too much, okay? I don't want to see 1, 2, 3, 4 words. As a matter of fact, all I need is the word etymology. I don't need anything else. Let's say that I, as a person who've taken music history and all that sort of thing, wanted to go through and take a look at the genealogy of the genre. You cannot do this for any of your MRP projects. You absolutely cannot look at the genealogy of a genre. Don't even consider writing that down. Now let's take a look at the way I've expressed it here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 words there. There's absolutely no reason to have all of those words there. All I need to have is 1 word. Okay? Whenever you're defining a subtopic, find a way to cut it down to the bare essence of it. That's one of the interesting things that you'll get out of this project is finding a way to pare things down and to focus them very, very carefully. It's one of the benefits that comes out of doing it if you are doing it properly. And let's say the last thing that I wanted to look at would be manuscript sources of the genre. Okay? Now, you can see what the problem is with this already. There's no problem with manuscript sources for me. There will be a problem with manuscript sources for you. You cannot use manuscript sources or even sources as one of your subtopics. These are not appropriate things for a person taking this kind of a class to deal with. I'm just giving them to you as an example here to show you how to deal with them. I've used far too many words to express what is there. Okay, I really don't need to have of the genre there. That's pretty well understood. And since we're dealing with a 14th century genre, there is absolutely no reason for me to indicate manuscript there. All sources of music from the 14th century are in manuscript, so all I would have to put down is sources. Now, if you think about it, it has taken me about half an hour to go through these instructions with you. And if you were to take this class with me in an on-campus setting, this is about the length of time that I would take. Actually, I probably would take 1.5 times as much time. I probably would have taken 45 minutes over 1 or 2 class sessions to go through these details with you. And it really is essential for you to take the time to become familiar with the processes that are required for this particular phase of the project. This is a really brief and simple project. It will not take you very long to do, and this assignment should not take you very long at all to do. In fact, if you schedule a full hour and a half to spend in the library, chances are you won't even spend that long, but schedule a full hour and a half for it. You could take care of all of these details: finding your sources, making the necessary photocopies, checking out the book, writing down the necessary information about authors, titles, volume numbers, and publication data, and coming up with a focus for your MRP by actually reading your shortest source from beginning to end, thinking about it, and then writing down your focuses for it on this form. If you take the time to do that, and I urge you to do all of that in the library in one session, if you do that, when you go on to do the second phase of the assignment, which is dealing with the form and submitting it, you will only have to do about 10 to 15 minutes of work. That's all that will be left after this. So if you do this carefully, you will have everything right, everything set to go, everything set to make your next phase of work very, very brief, and your chances of getting it done absolutely perfect much higher than if you were to try to divide this task and do these things at home rather than doing them at the library. So please dedicate time for your library session and set aside a substantial amount of time. I would say an hour and a half would be great for it, and you'll find that libraries are very nice places to work.